I think they should give in to all demands of teachers on the condition that they teach the children to speak white. Pyroanarchist, you know your Quebec history. You know what? Like, you're a little troll, but I'm very happy that the whole speak white thing really, really resonated with you. You know what? That's good. For those of you who don't know, Speak White is the title of a poem that's really, really one of the probably the most popular poem in Quebec history. And it's something that French people in Quebec were told. They were told to speak white. Even though they were white in skin tone, race being a social... What's the term? A social creation? A social... What is it called? What do us leftists call everything? We call it a social construct. Yes, thank you. Okay. Can't believe I need to go back to my lefty indoctrination camp. Okay, social construct. Race is a social construct. And because of that, even though you were as white as I am, if you spoke French, which I would have back then, I would have been told to speak white. Even though French comes from Europe. French is a white language. Anyway. Yeah, race isn't real, but we can't ignore the impacts of racism. Of course not. I the more and more I saw like these 1 hour like video essays that we've been on to talking about, the more I want to make it like a long video on Quebec and how it's the perfect case study to illustrate how race is a social construct. A social construct with very real impacts. I mean, some other good case studies as to how race is a social construct is like Italians, for example, or Slavs, as Lex puts in chat. But I would talk about Quebec because like we were told to speak white in the 60s, if not the 70s. It's quite recent. Yeah, the title of the poem is in English. Ariana. Speak White. Translated? Do you want me to read Speak White, the poem? It was, some parts of it are in English in the poem. Okay. Yeah, let's read Speak White. Yeah, let's hear it, but in English. I'm not going to read it in French, okay? Le racisme, applause. When it's in italic, I don't know how to say it. It means that it was originally in English in the poem, okay? Speak white. It sounds so good when you speak of Paradise Lost, and of the gracious and anonymous profile that trembles in Shakespeare's sonnets. We're an uncultured, stammering race, but we are not deaf to the genius of a language. Speak with the accents of Milton and Byron and Shelley and Keats. Speak white. And forgive us our only answer, being the raucous songs of our ancestors and the sorrows of Néligan, who is a French poet, a Francophone poet. Speak white. Talk about this and that. Tell us about Magna Carta or the Lincoln Memorial, the gray charm of the Thames, the pink waters of the Potomac. Tell us about your traditions. As a people, we don't really shine, but we're quite capable of appreciating all the significance of crumpets or the Boston Tea Party. But when you really speak white, when you get down to brass tacks, to talk about gracious living and speak of standing in life and the great society, a bit stronger then, speak white. Raise your foremen's voices. We're a bit hard of hearing. We live too close to the machines, and we only hear the sound of our breathing over the tools. Speak white and loud, so that we can hear you from Saint-Henri to Saint-Domingue. What an admirable tongue for hiring, for giving orders, setting the time for working yourself to death, and for the pause that refreshes and invigorates the dollar. Speak white. Tell us that God is a great big shot, and that we're paid to trust him. Speak white. Talk to us about production profits and percentages. Speak white. It's a rich language for buying, but for selling your soul, but for selling out. Speak white, big deal. But to tell you about the eternity of a day on strike, to tell the story of how a race of servants live, but for us to come home at night at the time that the sun snuffs itself out over the back streets. But to tell you, yes, that the sun is setting, yes, every day of our lives to the east of your empires. There's nothing to match a language of swear words. Our none too clean parlor, greasy and oil-stained. Speak white, be easy in your words. We're a race that holds grudges, but let's not criticize anyone for having a monopoly on correcting language. In Shakespeare's soft tongue, with the accents of Longfellow, speak a pure and atrociously white French, like in Vietnam, like in the Congo. Speak impeccable German, a yellow star between your teeth. Speak Russian, speak call to order, speak repression. Speak white. It is a universal language. We were born to understand it, with its tear gas words, with its nightstick words. Speak white. Tell us about freedom and democracy. We know that liberty is a black word, just as poverty is black, and just as blood mixes with dust in the streets of Algiers and Little Rock. Speak white from Westminster to Washington, take it in turn. Speak white like they do on Wall Street. White like they do in Watts. Be civilized. And understand us when we speak of circumstances, when you ask us politely, how do you do? And we hear you say, we're doing all right. We're doing fine. We are not alone. We know that we are not alone. Isn't that good? Speaking of, we can do like a quick breakdown, but speaking of, first, the not alone part is not only not alone in terms of snap, snap, snap. Yeah, Krena. The we are not alone is not like, it's not only about us as a people, but in relation to other people, other colonized people from very often English dominated places. Here, Algiers is not English dominated. There's also, but still about sharing about the fact that colonized people all around the world can share that kind of same feeling. There's also the whole thing of Wall Street, the whole freedom and democracy that they defend, but that you don't really see. French people who back then raise your foremen's voices, were a bit hard of hearing, we live too close to the machines. French people were at least back then, well, they were the proletarians. Now you're just pumping me to make that video about just Quebec and all that. Italic, like those Italians.